Hello, my friends, and welcome to the podcast where our goal is to remind you that amidst the chaos and craziness of the world today, there is still plenty of good that is worth shouting about. In each episode, we highlight the stories of another creator of good in the world. Nonprofit, for-profit, it doesn't matter. We know that when you use what you have to add to the world, we can make the world better. This is Creating Good with me, Matt Barnes. Let's create some good. Good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on what time you are listening to this. Welcome to Creating Good with Matt Barnes. My name is Matt Barnes, and this is my show. So, yeah, I have my own show. I'm kind of a big deal like that. Anyone can have their own show now, so I'm not that big of a deal. Anyway, welcome to Creating Good. This is a great episode. I'm not gonna lie. I really like this one. I'm really excited about it because my good friend Sarah Heath is here. And I say my good friend, but I met Sarah. I was so impressed with her that she needed to be on the podcast. And I think she came and let me interview her on the podcast like a couple days later. And since then, we have become very good friends and gotten to hang out. And she is just one of the coolest people around. But before we get to Sarah, I'm going to tell you about Creating Good. All right, here's how that goes. Creating Good is a movement to create good in the world. That's pretty much it. To mobilize people to see that you, listener, have what it takes right inside you, right there. Your talents, your abilities, your skills, your expertise, your experience, your connections, whatever, your resources to create good in the world. You have that, you. And it's just all about going, I want to be a little more intentional about doing that, about using what I have to create good in the world. Now, one of the ways that I've always loved to do that, and what this podcast is all about, is storytelling. Telling the stories of people creating good in the world, telling the stories of people's lives being changed, people experiencing amazing things. That is inspiring and it is exciting and I love it. And doing this podcast is one of my favorite parts of the week because I get to meet really cool people doing really cool stuff. And that's what I love. So, this week, first of all, by the way, if you have more questions about Creating Good, go to creatinggood.co, learn all about it, take the Creating Good pledge. It just means that you're going to use what you have to create good in the world. And you get a little badge you can put on your website to go like, hey, I'm all about creating good. My company is all about creating good. We're going to be about adding to the world and not just taking from it. And today, Sarah Heath is here. She is a storyteller. She is a consultant extraordinaire. She is currently serving as the Associate Director of Narrative Storytelling. No, sorry. It's such a long title. Associate Director of Narrative Strategy and Public Engagement for Orange County United Way and the United to End Homelessness program. It's a mouthful, sure. I think she wanted to be called Chief Storyteller, and they were like, no, that's too simple. So they gave her a paragraph for a title. But she is just one of the most impressive people maybe I've ever met. She's got an incredible background, incredible history, and an incredible desire and love of telling stories that are opportunities to change people's lives, to help them learn and grow, and to use what she has to make the world a better place. That's really what it comes down to. And so we connected over that and then just bonded over lots of other things. She's just really one of the most interesting people. If there was if they had done those most interesting man in the world ads, but it was most interesting woman in the world ads, I think that the person would have been Sarah Heath. So you gotta meet her. Sarah Heath.
Hi.
Thanks for joining me today.
Gladly. So excited to be here.
Yeah. We'll get into who you are in just a moment, but we're going to talk about me no, I'm just kidding. No, we always start with a segment called 3 Random Questions.
I'm ready.
So I'm going to ask you 3 random questions.
I can't wait.
It's very cleverly named that way. Okay. If you were stranded on an island for the rest of your life, what album would you take with you and why?
Ooh. Okay. This is a tough one. This is a really tough one for me. I love music.
Yes.
In like not reasonable ways.
Okay.
And but I can, there's an album that I can sing, so I wouldn't have to bring it with me, would be the Blue album from Weezer. I don't need it. I've got it here.
Okay.
So I don't need to bring that with me.
You can hit play in your head and hear
hit it.
the entire thing at any point in time.
It's right here.
Yes.
I think
It's a good one, by the way.
it's such a good album. You know what? I probably stranded on a desert island, only able to hear one album. I'm going to go... Oh, man. I think I might go to Death Cab for Cutie.
Really?
I know.
I haven't gotten that one yet.
Transatlanticism.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
yeah.
right.
Ooh. Nope.
I love how seriously you're taking this.
This is, listen.
Like you're actually committing to if this happens, you're stuck.
But I haven't listened to that album in forever, so I don't really know why I went there. I think there's just something about like that was an era in my life that I just listened to that album over and over again.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'll say that. I'll leave it there. Now I'm thinking of like 17 other albums I would bring, but there's something about kind of who I was when I was listening to that album.
There's a nostalgia.
There's a nostalgia.
Yeah.
It's kind of like old Radiohead.
Yeah.
I was writing papers and I wrote my first book like listening to old Radiohead.
Yeah.
And like there's even like a Deftone album I would listen on repeat.
Nice.
Please don't put me to a desert island. I want all my records.
I know, right? I know. That sounds like hell.
Because there's a lot of new stuff I'm listening to too, but I don't know that I'm ready to commit to bringing them with me.
Right. Right. Well, because you're still discovering it.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. That all checks out. What is the first thing you do in the morning?
Yeah, the very first thing I do in the morning is I wake my dog up.
Oh, what kind of dog do you have?
I have this tiny little, he's not actually that tiny, but he's pretty small. I have this dog that I got from a shelter. His name is Tenor. If you can't tell, I like music.
There you go.
And I adopted him 14 years ago. He is 16 years old, and he still looks like a puppy. And he still sleeps at my feet. And usually in the morning when I first wake up, I check out. I kind of get a lay, like, do we need to go for a walk right now? Because he's an older man and he needs to sometimes go to the bathroom like right away.
Got it.
Or do we have time for me to get my ab workout in? So that's the first thing I do in the morning is check in with him and see how his night was.
Okay. And then there's an ab workout in there?
Yeah, usually. So
That's impressive.
I know.
Wow.
I don't know. I know. It's just
anytime somebody says ab workout, I think of, was it 7 minute, 8 minute abs, whatever.
I'm at like 5. I'm at like a 5 minute. I think there's something to me about, because we always go on a long walk too. So as soon as I wake them up, either we go for a long walk or I do my ab workout, then we do a long walk. That started during COVID and it has become my favorite part of the day. So
I love it.
Yeah. Like I've gotten to know my neighbors. Like today, one of my neighbors was like, hey, I got some new koi fish. You want to check them out?
All right.
I'm like, I'm Sarah. She's like, oh, hi, I'm Donna.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's great. All right, last question. It's kind of a three-parter.
Okay.
Do you believe in aliens, Bigfoot, or power naps? Those are 3 things I find are controversial, whether people believe in them or not.
The question is, does Bigfoot believe in you?
Oh.
You know?
Yeah.
Aliens,
Deep.
something's out there.
Yeah.
I'm just not.
Right?
I'm not arrogant enough to think we're it.
Thank you.
We're not that cute. Like, I just feel like there's got to be better.
Right.
We can't be the end. And as far as like what that looks like, and I don't think we know yet.
No.
But yeah, I think there's aliens, which might be a controversial thing in my family even. I wonder if, yeah. And then the other question is Bigfoot.
Bigfoot.
Okay. So my best guy friend is 6'9.5".
Oh, so he is perhaps Bigfoot. He
tells me that Bigfoot and Yeti exist.
Okay.
So I got to trust him because I feel like he's related.
Yes.
There's maybe. I don't know. I want to believe.
Right?
I want to believe.
Okay.
Harry and the Hendersons, a lot of emotional trauma for me. So like whenever we say goodbye to each other, because John and I don't live in the same place anymore, but he'll be like, just go away, I hate you. And I know what he's doing. He's Harry and the Hendersonsing me. Which if you haven't seen that movie, don't. It's traumatizing. They get rid of this beautiful creature by telling him they don't like him anymore. So he'll go into the woods instead of saying, hey, people are chasing you. They're like,
John Lithgow, be nice.
I know, it's heartbreaking. Power naps, I believe in them for other people. They don't work for me.
Okay. Good to know. Okay. Was that 3 questions?
Yeah, you did
Okay,
great.
that was it. Okay, good job.
Yeah, I'm going to be thinking about them all day, though. I'm going to be driving home and be like, those were not my albums. They're not even my most listened to albums.
Okay.
That's okay.
That's all right. That's all right. It's just a snapshot of where you were in this moment in time.
In this moment.
Be present.
Be here now.
Be here. Okay. So, Sarah Heath, you are a storyteller and consultant extraordinaire, and currently also the Associate Director of Narrative Strategy and Public Engagement for Orange County United Way.
Yeah, United to End Homelessness, the branch of Orange County United Way.
There you go. Tell us your origin story. Where did you come from? How did you get here?
Oh, gosh, that's quite a story. So where did I come from? So I am born in a place that not a lot of people are born. I'm born in Bayvert, Newfoundland. Which is Green Bay, Newfoundland, if you speak French. I was born when my parents were, both of them are in the medical profession, and they were serving at a very rural community. And I was born there. And then I was raised until I was 14. And this all makes sense because you're going to hear random accents that my friends call Brother-Canadian. So I'm British, Southern, and Canadian. This will all come to play.
Okay.
So I was born in Bayvert, Newfoundland, to a mom who is British and a dad who is Canadian.
I heard mom.
Yep, my mom. I actually had to change my mom's name to M-U-M in my phone because apparently I say mum, but I don't know that I'm doing that. Anyway. And my mom she's lived in Canada a long time, so she has a Canadian accent more than a British accent. But I think that's part of what makes me here because I think I was open to adventure because I come from people who are very open to adventure.
Yeah.
All that to say, I grew up in Northern Ontario in a small town, very Dirty Dancing-esque,
nice.
Where our population tripled in the summer, just outside of Toronto, beautiful area called Muskoka. And then when I was 14, we moved to Hattiesburg, Mississippi.
Wow.
Yeah. So, like you do, I moved to the South, the deep South. And that was just an incredible experience. And you'll probably hear in my passion really for understanding difference because I was a stranger in a strange land.
Yeah.
Trying to understand. I actually, I'd only ever seen like American TV shows. And here I was in Mississippi where there's football players and cheerleaders and very serious. And then I went to the University of Southern Mississippi for undergrad. And I went to Duke for graduate school where I studied theology and got my Master's of Divinity. And then I got recruited out here to come and be a college and youth pastor. So that's kind of how I got to this area, to California. Wow. But that's like just such a sliver of my story. Because if you had ever told me I was going to be a pastor, I'd be like, you're crazy.
Yeah.
My dad calls me the sinister minister. Which ended up being a show on ID about ministers who kill people. So, yeah.
It sounds like a good wrestling name.
I also thought that.
Right.
The pastor of disaster, the sinister minister. Can you imagine?
Oh my gosh, the right-wing Christians would have a field day.
I know, it'd be so good.
Okay.
Anyway, I grew up in like a very progressive setting. And so I think that sets the tone too, is my parents are incredible, just thoughtful people and really care about people at a deep level. And then moving to a place where we were really, the second question they ask you is, what church do you go to? And that's such a private question in Canada. Like you would never ask that. And so
there's a lot of questions we ask here that I feel like other parts of the world, they're like, yeah, what?
What? Yeah, why is that the thing you want to know about me? That's actually a good friend of mine who was visiting me from Europe said, I find it interesting that the first thing people ask you in Orange County is, what do you do for work? Mm-hmm. And I said, I don't actually find that interesting. I think it fits sort of the narrative. I need to know what category to put you in.
Right.
And so I think all of that and ending up here, and then I served in that setting for a long time. I was a youth pastor and college pastor for 6.5 years. So
wow.
I loved that world. But it was just, when I would do a college service, everyone was coming. So not just college students. So that's we have bishops, and our bishop asked me if I would think about being a preaching pastor. And I was like, you're bananas. But I ended up, taking a position as a campus minister. That grew into them asking me to come and relaunch a church that had died. It was dying. And it was a 100-year-old building. And one of my favorite things to do is redo things with my own hands. And so we redid not just the community, but the building itself. And it became a very diverse space. Yeah. And so I did that, and it absolutely burnt me out. But I just have such a passion for creating community. And along the way, started to learn so much. And I ended up starting consulting other communities that were looking at like, how do we really welcome our community? Like
Right.
beyond just like putting a flag out or whatever it might be, or saying certain things, how do we really embody what it means to be hospitable and welcoming and affirming, whatever it might be,
Right.
inclusive, whatever it might be. And so started that work and wrote some books along the way on storytelling, because I think that's absolutely the way we get, first we get curious before we can move towards empathy. And so, yeah. And then I met you, like how I got in this room. It's interesting because I feel like we have probably almost met for like 20 years.
That was exactly, yeah. Everybody that you talk about, or we know so many of the same people, travel in the same circles,
yeah,
have very different and yet similar paths,
yeah,
and yet and live within proximity of each other. And
my Airstream that I'm working on is down the street from you,
on my street,
on your street.
Yeah,
it's wild.
You said where it was, and I'm like, I live on that street.
You're like, that piece of crap? I walk by that. Our family's housing price has gone down.
No, that inspired me. That was part of what inspired me to buy one.
I know. I'm a bit of like, I am not a cult leader, but when it comes to my passion for my Airstream, I think I really do inspire people. I love my crappy little burrito.
It's awesome.
She's the best.
So great.
And the worst. Yeah, so that's how I ended up here. Out of that, left that, and ended up doing consulting. I insinuated about the Airstream. That's a long story, but that ended up taking me to Bend, Oregon for a while, where all girls go to grieve and enjoy, the beauty of outside.
Sure.
And just sort of the brewery lifestyle for a while. Just kind of sort of recalculating, kind of figuring out who I am and what I want in my life. And so spent a couple months there, and then a couple months later, a couple more. But all along the way, I was doing some coaching and consulting around, again, storytelling, understanding ourselves as leaders. And then a job popped up about community engagement to help people understand what homelessness looks like. And it just seemed to be a good fitting because it was using those skills of storytelling and public speaking.
Yeah.
And I get to work with folks who have lived experience and helping them shape and craft their story in empowering ways, which is kind of my biggest passion, is to hear other people's stories.
Yeah.
It's actually weird to be on this side of a podcast.
I know. I've been on a few, and it's like, wait, it's hard for me not to take over.
Well, more just I'm like, my story, huh? Oh.
I know. Because I want to start asking them questions. I want to know more about, and then I'm like, I'm used to be the one asking questions.
I know. I want to ask questions.
Come on. Okay. So one of the many, I think, things that we have in common is this passion for storytelling.
Yeah.
And I can explain why, for me, it's so important. What is it for you that, storytelling, what itch does that scratch? What place of importance does that have? Why is that such a value for you?
I think it is a place where we can cross divides. Stories are powerful in that, I think about as an example, things like Star Wars or Harry Potter or wherever it might be. And there's some sense of these narratives. I think Joseph Campbell, who writes about story theory, like there are these stories that are so compelling to us. And I think part of it is we want to see ourselves in it. Mm-hmm. And I think when we are able to engage with a story, it's almost, if it's a fictional story, it's easier to do that in some ways because it's safer, right? We can talk about tough topics, right? Sure. There's movies that are clearly saying some pretty bold things.
Yeah.
But saying them in a way that it's, we're talking about the environment when we're watching something like Avatar,
Sure.
right? And I think all of us want to in some way see ourselves in these stories. But I also think stories, when they're our stories, it's the one thing we can uniquely own.
Right.
My mom was a nurse, and one of the things that she did was integrate. In Canada, there was a program that integrated special needs children into what were considered mainstream classrooms.
Okay.
And the reason they did that was they really believed that not only did it benefit the child, but it also benefited the classroom, right? So the kids around them are getting to experience difference. And that often meant mom was working one-on-one with some of the parents of these kids. And there was this, and some of them came from backgrounds that maybe we wouldn't have encountered before. There were times my mom was taking me to a trailer park and this woman that my mom just really befriended. They became buddies. She was the mom of one of the kids and just a great parent.
Yeah.
And if you were to have seen her, you would have thought, oh, she's got all these labeled problems, right? But she had this incredible way of saying to my mom, she'd always say, well, that's your story. Tell it how you want to. And basically what she was saying is like, your story is yours.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter how I hear your story. Like, your story is yours, and it's something uniquely that each of us have.
Right.
And it's also something that if we can get curious, oftentimes when I think about people who are saying things that are really hard for me, I'll imagine them as almost like a child. Like, at some point, your story wasn't that different than mine.
Right.
And I think that's getting people curious about each other's stories, about how we got here, really has the power and to create empathy, which I know we think that's a dirty word. I don't think it's a dirty word. I think it's the word that could save us all. But
I agree.
This idea that in order to be empathetic, I need to be curious.
Yes.
And anytime I've decided I know someone's story, I've kind of put a period there and like, oh, I know who you are.
Yeah.
Period. I've missed the opportunity to know their story.
It's limiting. It's a very limiting belief and understanding. Curiosity is, I think that a lot of us refer back to that scene in the first season of Ted Lasso, the darts.
Oh, listen, you just had to say the darts and I got goosebumps.
Right. So it's like he articulated in that scene something that I've thought about for so long in a way that was so much better. But just that idea of judgment versus curiosity. And like so much so that has become a value in our home with our kids. It's a value of creating good. It's one of our main values is stay curious, like that, because you can't grow, you can't learn, you can't connect truly with other people unless you bring that curiosity. Why is it so hard for people to do that?
Part of it is safety.
Yeah.
Like I will admit, there are things that our brains are wired to go to the understanding of the thing that we believe, right?
Right.
Because it keeps us safe, right? We know that from neuroscience. Oh, part of my story too is my undergrad's in biology. I studied animal behavior and then I worked in a church. But there,
I can't think of anything that would prepare you better.
But the interesting thing is our brains are really wired to keep us safe, right? So it's okay. I think I know this one.
Yeah.
I know this tune.
Yeah.
I know where this is going. So for me, as a particularly small woman, there's things I think about when I go outside. I do kind of scope the area out.
Sure,
That's
sure.
my brain keeping me safe.
Yeah.
It might also make some assumptions about people that I see, right? Oh,
Right.
that person doesn't seem safe.
Right.
That person is talking to themselves. What can I assume there?
Right.
And in some ways, we have to be gentle with ourselves and understand these things have kept us safe. Or we've experienced something that wasn't safe. And now our brain has said, in that circumstance, that will happen again and again. Again, it's getting to the quickest way that our dendrites can connect and say, ugh. So I think sometimes the hard part is to admit that we don't know.
Right.
Can feel unsafe in a very primal place of us, right? It is difficult to enter into a space all the time and go, I don't know. And so sometimes we cling really hard onto the things that we think we know.
Yeah.
I find myself doing that all the time where someone will say something and then I'll decide I know who you are across the board.
Right. Absolutely.
And then delightfully I'm surprised.
Yeah.
Even like as I talk about my current work really is around helping to help people share their stories of experiencing homelessness. But also I'm talking to people who everyone has a housing story, right? That's the other thing too. I think we forget that no life is neutral. Everyone has a story.
Yeah.
No one has not experienced a housing story, whether you realize it or not. So why were you housed? Kind of getting to the curiosity of like, yeah, you're in this really great house. How did you get there? And our fear is, I don't want to be like that person. So then I'm going to create a story where I can't see myself in their story. So it's all these personal decisions they made because I know I won't make those decisions.
Yeah.
So that I won't end up there. Again, it's always a return to safety. So I think curiosity sometimes requires us to let go of safety.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's okay. And then sometimes there are moments when it's like, no, if you are someone who is from a community that might feel more marginalized, there are places and spaces where it is okay for you to say, that's not a place I can be. I need to not.
Totally.
But for me, as someone who's like cisgender, heterosexual white woman, I can sometimes enter into spaces with more curiosity and offer my perspective in a way that says, wow, I'm surprised that you're willing to hear this story.
Yeah.
So I think there is just this, people have a tough time being curious because sometimes we have been taught, particularly in this culture, that we need to be experts.
Right.
And so if I'm curious, then I'm not an expert.
Well, and nowhere is that more true than the church,
Yeah.
where pastors are expected to have all the answers.
All of them.
And a lot of them like to pretend that they do instead of saying that those beautiful magic words, I don't know.
I don't know.
And that's where you get a lot of, and not just in the church, but I think you and I both experienced it there. And this ties into something else that I talk about a lot, but I don't know that I've ever consciously put them together, which is, this whole very sort of binary divided culture that we live in.
Yeah.
People are so much more comfortable with yes or no, black or white, this or that, instead of, either or instead of both and. And that's really that gray area in the middle is where critical thinking happens. It's more work to do.
Scary. Yeah.
It's scary. You don't know what things you're going to find, things that may challenge assumptions that you had or beliefs that you had. And that's in literally any situation, right? And so it's that curiosity leads to that. And I think that both and is scary because, the things I just said, but also it's the uncertainty, the letting go, the realizing that there are some times where trusting your gut in a situation, even though it may not be what somebody would say is, the politically correct thing to do, or you know what I'm saying? Like things are just messier than we like to make them.
Things are messier. I also think those of us who grew up in systems, again, because the reason I gave you my whole brother Canadian background is I think I have existed both in and out of some of the structures that a lot of people grew up in. But part of my story is really claiming sort of an evangelical narrative for a little while. Yeah. Because it kept me safe. There were things about my past that my brain just decided to block out for a while. And so part of that was, being in this very evangelical space, I was able to sort of protect myself from some of that because I wasn't able to go into my own intuition because, don't lean on your own understanding is like a no-no. Right. Curiosity killed the cat, right? Right. All these things, these sayings, what they really do is they disconnect us from our own knowing. And when we're disconnected from our own knowing or intuition, we're also disconnected from our own story. We are unable to almost see the other because we can't see ourselves. Yeah. I had a profound experience, and although Christianity and I are still somewhat hand in hand, I'm definitely not what I was when I was then, and I'm definitely more of a broader perspective. And I joke that I don't know how I feel about Jesus anymore, but I definitely still, there's these beautiful stories that mean so much to me. Yeah. And I think that I have always been a person driven by story, but the love your neighbor as yourself. Someone once said to me, Sarah, the problem is you got to figure out how to love yourself because you're great loving your neighbor, but until you love yourself, you're not actually doing the fullness of that. Yeah. And so I think that there's a bizarre sense where we have to know ourselves to know others. Yeah. And we have to be curious about ourselves and others, and that can feel very scary. Yeah. And we are afraid of hearing stories that are outside of our own narrative, and we want to quickly assume things, and then you encounter something. I don't know anyone who has ever changed dramatically that it wasn't because of a story. Right. Anyone I've ever met that has gone through, a dramatic change. Yeah. It's because somebody, there was something, they encountered someone that story didn't match everybody else's story, you know, or they thought it was one way and it was something else and it changed them forever.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's the whole idea, is that hearing an individual story has the power to change it all.
Absolutely. Well, it's that thing of like, how do we actually learn and grow? Like if you think about, you know, in my original career as a teacher and doing education, it was like realizing people don't grow and learn by memorizing things.
No.
It's through experience. And a lot of times it has to be through other people's experiences and being brought into their story and finding commonality and finding, you know, the lessons. And those stories are, you know, even when I was teaching English, it was like, yeah, I can make you memorize what happened on page 62 of The Great Gatsby or something like that. But like, or we can talk about like, what was it about this story that connected with your story? And what can, like, different people are going to get different things from that. And that's the beauty of it, right?
Right.
There's no one answer. And that's where it's like, if you open up, and it is scary because it's like, even then, even in that very academic context where it was like letting go of the test, letting go of
Right.
like multiple choice, true, but like actually having conversations and projects and things like that. That once you do and you get past the scariness of doing that, you get things that you never would get otherwise.
You know what? I think one of the biggest things that popped in my head when you were saying that is my favorite physics teacher.
Mm-hmm.
I took, which is wild to me, I took AP Physics, which is...
You were smarty.
I am not. I think it was AP Physics. It might have just been hard physics, if that's the thing.
Okay.
But she also taught AP Physics. I'm pretty sure it was in this. But she, instead of making us memorize stuff, she was brilliant. She just discovered very early that if she made the test talk about like physical theories and all that kind of stuff, but using a storyline that involved all of the students.
Yeah.
So Sarah flew off of Earth. And it's like this week when we joined the story of Sarah and Blood, and it would literally list my classmates, so and so and so and so and so and so.
So you're adding elements,
and it's adding like equations, and we had to figure out. And you would hear people yell, "Oh, Scott flew off of like in the middle of a test, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense because of blah blah blah." You know, it's this kind of force, you know, and it was this powerful way to get us so interested. We'd almost be excited to come take the test because we wanted to know what happened in the story.
Well, and there's even just in that, like that experience of that for you, there's the excitement of like, this isn't what you normally would expect out of a physics class.
No.
And so it's exciting to go and see like what's going to happen next and how am I going to like learn something without, I don't know. It's just so out of the norm, right?
Yeah. And it makes it where we're taking things, we're putting it into practice, and we're getting curious.
Yeah.
And I think that's and being curious about the other. I think that's the part. I wrote a book years ago about like understanding your own story. And that's kind of where this curiosity around story really came in. But I realized like if I were to write it now, I would also include the ability to hear other people's stories.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think we've got this ability with social media and all that. We all can tell the story we think we want to tell, or at least, partly.
Yeah.
But the ability to really hear other people's stories, especially ones that are different than ours, the way that they want to tell it, I think that's a skill that we're missing a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to say this real quick just because there's right in the middle of the recording this podcast, they are started setting up for an event tonight.
Is that what's happening?
And it's like, I'm just like, really right now? Anyway, so if listeners, if you're hearing
That's
crashing
part of the
and
story.
bangings, it's part of the story
Be
of this.
here, be present.
There's an event going on tonight. Actually, it's a kids book reading. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's
so,
very fitting.
Yeah. So I just watched some kids walk by. I'm like, wow, they're very early. But
They're very excited
yeah,
too.
that's awesome. Okay. I mean, literally we could talk about this
Forever. I know.
forever because it's everything that I love. And the more I have these conversations too, the more you start to realize like all of these principles, these ideas, they're just true for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like the things that we silo off and, oh, this is this and this is this, and we talk about this over here. Like it's all related. Like this ties like into parenting. It ties into running a business. It ties into just being friends with people and building community. That like any of those things, And it's the storytelling aspect of all of those things. Like
It's
how
the-
I
it's-
raise my kid. Like
It's that people like these people who are like business fanatics who read all this, like Simon Sinek, the why, right?
Yeah,
The why is the story.
Exactly.
And I think we have so often gotten to the what. Like,
Yes.
well, let's start with what. And we do it all the time.
Yes.
We strategically plan for the what. And we can do what for a long time. We are in a society that tells us what is so important. What do you do?
Yeah.
Instead of who are you?
Yeah.
I think that we are so set for that when anything says, no, like, wait, pause. Why are we doing this?
Right, right.
Why you? Why are you here? How did you get here?
Yeah.
I think there's just such a you're right. It's everywhere. It's in science and it's in business and it's, I taught a class for entrepreneurs so that they could pitch their story. And it was the most fun I've ever had. One kid, I tell this story because I think it shows the power of story, even if we don't believe in it. This kid, one of the things I make them do is like map out their story. Lots of people do this. And I made him map out his story. They were all pitching their like Shark Tank like thing.
Yeah.
And then they could win. At the end of the semester, one kid was going to get their project fully funded.
Really?
By alumni. Brilliant idea for a university to do.
Yes.
So all these alumni come together. They like Shark Tank it. They have a semester to learn. They're all business majors. They have a semester to like get their thing.
It's amazing.
Putting it together. By the end of it, all of them have businesses, but one of them is fully funded.
Wow.
I know. They also get to vote on each other.
Oh.
So it's an interesting, because so then you're learning their character, right? The
Yeah.
whole way. So there was this one kid that, and I hope he doesn't listen to this, but everyone seemed really frustrated with him, or they just like, one of the things about being me is like, I can read a room and be like, oh no, oh no. And he could not read a room. So he was this person who I could tell he just wasn't jamming with the rest of the class. And so I made them write this thing. And I was like, okay, like what's the worst thing that ever happened to you? And we're going, that's not what I said. That's terrible. I wasn't like, hey, tell me your trauma. But I asked, hi, I'm your new professor. What's your trauma? But I made them write all this stuff down. And then they had to like kind of figure out if there was any way it related to the work that they were trying to do. And so he just is like frustrated and sitting over in the corner. And I'm like, he's like, well, nothing bad has ever happened to me. He's like this handsome white guy. Nothing bad has ever happened to me. I'm like, oh, okay. And I was like, oh yeah, really? Like, let's unpack that a little bit.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I mean, listen, like I had like everybody else, I had learning disabilities, obviously, like, kind of thing. And I was like, well, not obviously, but okay.
Right.
By the way, I should say that at this point he was getting his master's in business. And he's like, yeah, school was really hard for me because I had severe ADHD and I didn't find out until later and da-da-da, and I almost failed out. And he's like telling the story. And I said, right. So some things that were kind of difficult happened. He's like, yeah, but I like persevered. Because it's like one professor realized like if I studied at my own pace, I would do okay. And he helped me out. And I said, right, so what are you pitching? He's like, oh, I want to do online content where people can take classes at whatever speed they need to. And this woman in the class audibly goes, what? and I said, so you don't see how that part of your story, like, and he was like, oh, I guess. Yeah. And she said, I'm going to say it. I didn't care about what you were working on before.
Wow.
And I care now. And I just
what a
thought,
lesson.
You can't. I mean,
you can't plan that.
No. She said, you've never shared that part of you.
Yeah.
And I think probably because of like, some sense of shame in him, he like didn't tie the two together. He just thought, well, I'll make it. But he didn't realize, hey, I'm actually making it easier for young me.
Yeah.
And I think that story also connects us to our past. It connects us to why we are where we are, gives us grace for ourselves and others. So, yeah, and I think that especially in a time when algorithms are telling us that we like this is the kind of person you want to spend time with, and then that's all you know. I think when we encounter something like a Ted Lasso story, that my friends that are very conservative and my friends that are very not, loved.
Everybody.
People felt seen.
Yeah.
And I think, okay, well, what's that? And it's that they weren't perfect characters.
Right.
Ted was a butthole sometimes.
Yeah.
And that was great. Yeah. And I think that's the nuance, too, that happens in British television. My mom and I talk about this a lot. I watch British television a lot.
Yeah.
Because, A, the people are not gorgeous. Yeah. There's just something nice about, like, it doesn't look like the interior of every coffee shop in Orange County where you're just like, how am I here? What does my friend say? She's like, in the Midwest, we're a 10, which is just not true. But I think there is this sense of like, if we're talking about like stories where not everyone has to be perfect.
Yeah.
So many of everything we see on Instagram, everything we see in a lot of American TV shows, there's a really good guy, there's a really bad guy.
Yeah.
Because we don't know what to do with nuance.
Right.
But the reality of life is nuance.
Yep. Well, and the idea that people can be redeemed, that Jamie Tart,
I know,
who season 1, you're like, is the worst person in the world.
He's dreadful.
And then you like love him by the end. You just don't. We don't see that, and if you do, you
those
don't,
two becoming best friends.
Oh man, and that it feels like natural. Like it didn't feel forced. It wasn't like, oh, one episode all of a sudden he was a different person.
And you meet his dad and you realize why he is where he is.
Exactly.
And I think that's the reality of story is it reminds us that just as we've transformed, I've got so many things I'm embarrassed about in my past, right? Like, thank God I didn't grow up when, my mom could have been posting things on Instagram when I was a kid.
Right.
There is this sense of we change, people change. And that's not like we should forgive people and welcome them right back in. I think there is work that needs to be done in reconciliation and all that. But I do think there does have to be a path forward for people to have a way to be brought back into community. And that's, for me, it's like, I think when we shame people, even rightfully so, there are shameful things people do.
Yes.
But it requires some deep thought. And I think sometimes we miss out on the nuance. We like to think that person's all bad and that person's all good.
Right.
And I don't know that that's necessarily always true, if not never true.
Yeah, very rarely true, for sure. Okay. Well, like I said, we could do this all day.
I know.
And you will have to come back at some point. But I want to ask you the same question I always ask everybody at the end, which is, because I'm always fascinated by this, and I think to me it's we forget that this may be just as important as everything else, which is, what is it in what you do that brings you the most joy?
Yeah. I think what brings me the most joy in what I'm currently doing is allowing people to be able to be part of the story themselves. One of the reasons that you and I engaged together was this campaign we're working on called The Person in Front of You. And it was really this. We've got so many divisive notions around homelessness and there's all this stuff going on and people spreading untruths, and we could just yell facts at people all day long. And we could really highlight why it is that, when someone is housed, it's then we're able to address all the things, and no one ever just gets housing without services and all this stuff. We could say all that stuff.
Yeah.
And people will just go what their lizard brain does, and it goes right to nope, I know what this is.
Yeah. Political talking points. Let's go.
Right. So this campaign that I'm working on, and I'm really excited because it's a T-shirt. Which sounds simple, but sometimes the simple things. I have been compelled by the T-shirts I've seen that says, "Dear person behind me," I hope you have a good day, or "Dear person behind me," and it does stop you and makes you go, "Oh, okay, well, thank you," right?
Yeah.
So I have been thinking about how something that I believe to be true is that we really do want everyone to have a safe and affordable place to call home.
Yeah.
Affordable for what that means for them. There's so many notions around that, and so as we were thinking about how do we show solidarity for people experiencing homelessness? How do we offer people an opportunity to learn and not have to be an expert in this? How do we invite people into curiosity? We came up with this notion, or I randomly came up with this notion of having a T-shirt that says, "The person in front of you wants you to have a safe and affordable place to call home." Our hope is that it builds curiosity and that we're educating the people wearing the shirts. So we have 500 shirts about to be deployed in Orange County, and people will be wearing these shirts. And originally it was just going to be a plain T-shirt. But then in a conversation I had with my friend Trevor Gerard, who is a phenomenal designer, he did the Hellfire shirts for
Stranger
Things,
Yeah.
right, that I see everywhere. He's just like this incredible creative cartoon design. Like, he's awesome. And I was just calling him to be like, hey, I'm designing this thing. Is it dumb? And I don't know if his answer is that it was dumb, because he was like, actually, can I design it for you? So he has. And so it has one of his cartoons on the front, and it says, are you with me? And then the back simply says this. But the reason why it makes me joyful is part of it is I'm hoping it will start conversations.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that when someone is wearing the shirt, it's starting this conversation of like, I want you to have a home.
Yeah.
And I want you to want me to have we are both people who are in Orange County. And let's start there. There's a place where we can start together, that we believe this together.
Yeah.
And part of it too is we're going to gather for a big event where people are going to take an aerial photo that looks like a house with a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Because I think it just makes me excited that there will be lived experience folks there, people who have experienced hearing someone say, I want you
Yeah.
to have a safe and affordable home. And anytime that story can kind of combine with design, can combine with like creative stuff, I just get really excited about that. And I love when people in my life, like Trevor, who's been in my life for a while, like that he said, I'd love to use this thing that I uniquely can do to bring about some good in the world. And that's, I think, why I love what you do. I just love, we need to highlight that more.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's the whole point of creating good, really, is just showing people that it's like, you don't necessarily have to go start a business or start a nonprofit, or just use what you have
What you already
to create some good in the world in some easy ways. And I think this, like, a T-shirt that's a conversation starter. Conversation leads to curiosity, and then that leads to change.
And let's be curious together. Well, how do you think we get that? How do we get affordable housing? Oh, let's talk about it. It's like the idea of, instead of, if I were wearing a shirt that just says End Homelessness,
right?
You already think you have your own story about what that means.
Yes, and I think I know what you think it means, and I think I know what I think about what you think it means.
Right.
Like there's just so many layers there that automatically get triggered with something
period.
like that. Yeah,
exactly.
And
I think so often in nonprofit communication and just in business communication, in how we tell stories, it lends it to like, this is a good story, or this is a bad story, or this is the end, or whatever it might be. And I just think so often there's a semicolon, there's something else, there's curiosity to be had. So thanks for asking.
Yeah, love it. All right, where can people find you and connect with you?
Yeah, you can find me on almost all platforms. As much as I am no longer a local pastor, I'm still affiliated with the United Methodist Church. So you can find me as Rev Sarah Heath on everything. I'm in a personal bit of a rebrand, but that is currently where you can find me. And so, connect with me. Love it. Instagram is where I am most often.
Okay.
Well,
Sarah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
This has been awesome.
It's been great.
Great. Creating Good with Matt Barnes is recorded at Rogue Collective in beautiful Newport Beach, California. It's hosted and executive produced by me, Matt Barnes. Post-production is by our amazing friends over at Fame, the B2B podcast agency. Writing is by Matt Barnes and Taylor Bolanos from Rogue Creatives. Creative direction and design is overseen by Corey Hill of Rogue Creatives. Theme music is composed and performed by Jared Atherton of Chapters. Huge thanks to our amazing guests for joining us this episode, and thank you to all of you incredible listeners for tuning in. If you enjoyed the show, and I would imagine you did if you're still listening, so don't forget to help us spread some good by giving us a good review. Preferably 5 stars, lots of really nice words. It's very helpful. Also, tell your friends and subscribe so we can come straight into your potholes each and every time we have a new episode. Take the Creating Good pledge on our website at creatinggood.co. We'll catch you next time. This has been a Rogue Creatives production.